So you're in having a business. So now let's start here. Let's say 2020 is done. And 2021 will be a really good year for you. New area, fresh start, new systems, new mindset. How would you like the year to go? What would make it a good year? What would you be happy with? Like, let's say it's a year from now, we're talking December 2021, and you say, dude, 2021, I rocked it. Great year in real estate. What would have to happen? What would you be happy with?
Well, ideally, top tier, top level,
Mm-hmm.
like my goals are, I started out with the goal because I started, doing a for sale by owner system, not yours in particular, another one, but, I thought to myself, 100,000 for a year would be, that would exceed my wildest dreams,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to a new place. I have no kids. I'm going to be by myself. I have no priorities that I really need to do. So I'm really, really going to be focusing on my real estate career, right? And then while looking through your expired system, I figure try to, I'm going to see which one I like best eventually for sale by owners or expires, but I'm going to try to
Yeah.
keep them at equal level. I'm going to try to focus on them equally. So I'm hoping ideally, maybe 2 expireds and 2 for sale by owners a month.
All right, cool. So if you do that, how much money would you make?
More than I could imagine. Probably 200, 250. I'm not too sure about the market at that
Uh-huh.
area. I do have a broker who I'm working with, and she seems like she's good people and she's all about the teamwork and whatnot, although I'm
Uh-huh.
not going to rely on anybody for my success. But I think she'll be a good resource in regards to getting to know the area and kind of figuring out how to do things at first.
Gotcha. So what do you feel like will be the biggest obstacle?
I really don't know. I have a good mindset. I'm
Mm-hmm.
ready to go get it. I'm hungry. I've been in Kansas and I've just been kind of, I have some prior commitments that I have to finish up, but they're getting ready to finish and I'm moving this weekend. I've just been kind of sitting and contemplating and just figuring things out in my head, practicing my scripts and with
Good
partners
for
and
you.
this and that. And so that way, whenever I get there, I'm ready to go for it. And as far
Mm-hmm.
as I'm not sure really. I know there are going to be a lot of ups and downs. And, whenever I first started my real estate career, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I didn't even
Nobody
really,
really does. Trust me. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I have 100,000 agents coached. There's nobody who's going to get in and say, I got this. I know exactly what to expect. Nah,
I,
no.
I
You're
you,
first very
you
excited
know,
and passionate. Then the reality hits and you go, fuck. All of us,
exactly.
including me.
So you talk about like hot leads and warm leads and
Mm-hmm.
how often you should follow up with them, 1 to 4 days and from 7 days and then so on and so on. Um, Now, during the follow-up system, you have different different solvers, right? Different ways to execute. So, for example, first you would call, and then you would send
Mm-hmm.
the sorry text message, and then the sorry email. Then you would knock on their door. How often do you do all of that? So, would I call them and send them a text in the first day, and then maybe wait a day, and then send them an email, and then wait a day, and then go knock? Or should I do all of that the very first day, or should I spread that out through a week before I move on to the second sequence? How would that work?
The general assumption is until you talk to them and prove otherwise, you expect they're motivated, they're looking for an agent, they want to list, they're ready to sell.
Cool.
You operate based on these assumptions until you talk to them and they say, we got 2 years to get this done. That's a different story. But until you know that for sure, and sometimes you got to be careful, how they're
Bullshit.
smoke-free and
Right.
there's all kinds of shenanigans.
Right.
So always assume they're hot, they're ready to go. Because I lost more business because I was too complacent thinking, well, they've been on the market a couple times and I'm sure they have all the time in the world. Bam, gone. And there goes a few $1,000s and an
Right.
opportunity to help somebody. You know what I mean? So always operate,
Definitely.
motivated. So you want to be, and I don't want to abuse the word, but you'll get the point. You want to be as aggressive as possible.
Right.
Because if you're not, somebody else is. And that somebody else is going to get that listing, not because they're a better agent, but because they
they're there.
follow the system. You know what I mean? They're there. And very often, as you either already have discovered or discovered, these people will list with the first agent they like. And if you're the first one who talks to them and you don't fuck it up, like you already practice your communication, that's important, coming across as nice, confident agent, not too pushy or not too needy, you got them.
Right. So at that point, I do the first, the sorry text, the sorry email. Then afterwards,
Yep.
it would be the you might not be ready to move, and then the quick question email.
Yeah, you just go right down the list, fire them off,
like the
daily.
following day,
I would
or
totally.
okay,
Why not? I mean, what's the downside to it?
right,
Especially if you're using a good CM. Do you have a good contact management system? First thing you do when you settle, Joe, in your new office is check out and immediately sign up for a contact management system. It makes everything so much easier to manage this. Where you're going to put all your leads and manage your follow-up through an automated system. Where
okay,
the only thing you will do manually is have the conversations. Everything else will be done in the background for you,
right,
including the
yeah,
emails and all that. Okay, so look into Follow-Up Boss, really good, robust system. Cost you a few bucks a month. Look into LionDesk
okay,
and look into Realty Juggler.
cool,
That's the most affordable one. They're all good. They will all do. The most important, especially now, is the face-to-face. So if it is safe and if it's appropriate, you knock on the door, have a little conversation with them.
right.
And then you ask some questions and see their motivation, their urgency, what are their plans.
Do you have to be careful with like gated communities, like those gated communities, you can't just like go in and you would have to just like skip the door knock, right? You'd have to like mail them the
Well,
expired, like the gated community, or are they like,
are you asking me a legal question or are you asking me a marketing question?
I'm asking you a marketing question.
You absolutely should go to a gated community. There is no barrier that was in my way. I would sometimes wait for like a UPS truck or a mail car or mail delivery or something to sneak in
I could
there.
just jump it.
I would totally, then that's what I would do.
So
Now,
how would
again, I
you,
don't want you to get in trouble. I don't want you to do your license get in trouble, any of
right,
that. I'm not asking you to do anything illegal, but
right,
a little persistence goes a long way, especially if there's a barrier. Like I had more success with expireds where you couldn't get their phone number because most agents were like, fuck it. How do I get hold of them next?
right. They don't want to go after it. It's too much work.
Very few would be as persistent as I was to go, and they go once. What I would sometimes do, especially if I know it's a hot listing, high demand area, priced pretty well, usually there is something you can pinpoint what was wrong. And often it could be like shitty pictures or it was slightly overpriced, but with a little modification, I could probably sell the sucker. I would go back the same night. If I don't reach them in the morning, go back around 7.
Right, yeah,
It is the persistence more than anything that pays off in this game
cool.
and make you a lot of money.
Right. So how would you since I'm going to be in a new area, and when you're building rapport and you're figuring
Mhm.
out their motivation and their core drive and emotions,
Mhm.
the topic, or it's bound to come up that I'm kind of new in the area.
Sure.
How would I handle that? I mean, like, I study the market every day, or like,
Yeah.
is it
Great
just
question.
basically
What they're really questioning is 2 things, your competence and your confidence. That's the only question. Whether you're new or old doesn't matter. I know plenty of agents who've been at this for 20 years, they still suck at it. And I wouldn't trust them. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
years in the business or how long they've been in the area, it helps. And especially if you're well established, that's great, but it's not essential. So here are a couple of things I would suggest. First, study the market. Within 3-4 weeks, you should really know your marketplace inside out. That means you preview properties, do the best you can. Sometimes just driving by is good enough to give you an idea. Look at the pictures. Study different school districts. Schools have the most impact on property value. Study crime. What is in demand? Why is it in demand? Is the market going up, going down? All of that you need to know inside out.
makes
So
sense.
study the market, preview, watch the hot sheet every day, see what's on the market, price reductions. You need to stay on top of it. And again, within a few weeks, you'll be ahead of probably 80% of the agents.
If
That's what it takes.
if I'm on the phone and they're like having a bad day and they're emotional, would it be? I mean, they're probably not going to remember you. Would it be okay if I were to still to go later on that day and knock on the door? Or should I give them a day to kind of
Absolutely,
go out?
yes.
Because
I don't really care about the outcome of the conversation. The only critical part is at the beginning. That's the only important question really is, have you relisted? Because if they have not, no matter what
then
they
the
tell
free
you
game.
afterwards, what they tell you and what they end up doing are often very 2 different things. And then one last thing I would give you is, as a new agent in the area, you don't want to hide that.
Right.
You don't want to hide that. I would be very honest about it, but here's the thing. If I know, let's use an example of cars. Let's say you work for a dealership that sells Fords. If you know how to sell Fords, can you sell Lexus? Of course you can. So if you can sell in Kansas, can you sell in South Carolina? Of course you can. The principles, there may be some variations in local rules and some laws, but the principles are the same. You find a motivated seller, you qualify them, you establish a relationship with them, you present that you're a competent agent who can help them, you come up with a plan how to help them, and you make it happen, rinse, repeat. Whether it's here or there, Makes very little difference. But be prepared
I
that there
think
will
that's
be
my
sellers
biggest
who will not do
insecurity.
business with you because you are new.
Right.
That's going to happen. That is unavoidable. It's just a reality. So what you have to do is work harder, get more leads, do more prospecting, because eventually somebody's going to say, Joe will like you. Because at some point,
So
everybody was new, even the biggest rock stars.
right,
Everybody was new with zero
right.
experience, zero listings, zero clients.
So if I call them and I don't get a hold of them and I go to them and I knock on the door, should I just use like the same dialogue that I would use
Yes.
as the first convo? I shouldn't try to get in the house unless they're like throwing it out there. I should just say like, okay, this is who I am. Here's your expired package. If you need my help, let me know. Bye. Basically.
No, I would ask them some questions. Where'd you guys want to go? If the right buyer comes along and offers you a good price for the house, would you still consider it? Would you at least look at it?
Some motivation, but I shouldn't like try to get in the house and see it, right?
If
Unless they're
possible. Now, here you have to kind of use your judgment.
right.
Especially now under these current Corona situation circumstances, they may be a little apprehensive and hesitant, and that's okay. You don't want to push too much. But if you feel the opportunity is there, they are engaged, the conversation is flowing, they really want to sell, then yeah, absolutely. Get in and say, let me take a quick look. Can I at least let my prospective buyers know about it? What if somebody says, yeah, I'd like to see it, or I'm very interested? Would you be open to that?
Makes sense. So how do I mean, and I don't know if they're going to be like how many, but I'm assuming like what's the average of number of expireds that go up a day? Like 5 expireds, 2 expireds? Should I like what's because how do I pick which ones I really pursue? I mean, it's just like by the pictures or how just like this one looks better than this one or like this price point or
Excellent question. They will vary. Like in some hot markets, there are a few expireds. Then towards the end of the year, like end of December, beginning of January, you're going to have a boatload of them. Literally, some agents report to me they have 400, 500 expireds in that little window, few days, right at the end of December, beginning of January, because a lot of agents let the listings expire. They extend the listing towards the end of the year.
right.
So be ready. Be ready. It's going to be a nice big wave. And if you set that up right, you can have tons of good listings. So the way I did it is I had 2 criteria. Can I sell this? And how far is it? So I would start as close to my office as possible, and I would start spiraling out. That was my first criteria. And I would start with homes like, that's a good area, that's a desirable neighborhood, I can sell that sucker. So start with those. But at the beginning, don't be picky. Go after everybody because you're still working on your skills. You're still establishing yourself in the neighborhood. So more is better.
So just another thing I just thought of, if okay, so let's say I email them, I text them, I call them, I knock their door, nothing happens first day. I do it the second day again, the third day again, the fourth day. Like how many days should I do that until I start to like taper off? Like a week and then just kind of realize that these people give them some room to breathe or like what?
My recommendation would be hit them on all channels if possible. That means you visit them, you call them, you text them, you email them, you mail them something. Once you finish that first cycle, start with every 4 days and then expand it out. But the idea is this, you don't want to drop a potential lead until you tried at least 5 times. After 5 attempts, you say, do I want to keep trying or do I want to drop them? Now, here's the thing.
And when you say
lead. Yeah.
When you say an attempt, that's call, text, mail, and knock. That's an attempt, right?
That's minimum what I would do is these 5. I would call them, I would text them, I would email them, I would visit them, and I would send them something in the mail.
That's one attempt. Got it.
And then I would say, okay, there's no response. I would try it back, go back, knock again, maybe in the, there are 2 windows that you can try. And again, this needs to be tested because it depends on the area, the socioeconomic group you're targeting. You know, is it a blue collar, white collar? Early Saturday, 10 o'clock on Saturday in the morning, and Sunday after 4. Those were the best windows where I would reach the most people. Not everybody, not always, of course, but I would target these the most. So you have an expired and it's a good property. They have not relisted. You haven't talked to them. You visit them first time. You drop off the package. Then they'll go on a follow-up. Your CRM starts kicking in and the sequence starts. And in that sequence, you will again attempt to call every few days. And it's just going to prompt you. So that means every day you're going to have a list of new expireds to call, old expireds to call.
So it's kind of like a task because I don't know what to see. Like I have an idea of what a CRM is and what it does, but it kind of generates tasks, I guess, and it says, hey, today you need to call this person.
That's exactly right. It will show you, you need to call today these new people. These people are on your follow-up, okay? And then some of these CRMs even have a dialer, so you just have a headset on and it just goes right down the list, okay? Then it will tell you this expired, needs to get a postcard. They're in sequence step number, I don't know, 7, and needs to get the red postcard stop or whatever it says. I don't remember what the postcard say. I think it's Jessel or something. So grab the postcard, attach the address or run it through the printer, whichever method you're going to use, put a stamp on it, out it goes.
That's
this one
you could automate, right? That because that's not like a personal thank you or
correct. That's a mass mailing. Yes.
Okay.
So you just spit it out. Now, the best way to do this, once it gets some traction and get some commissions going, is you hire somebody who's going to come in for 2-3 hours a day and take over all that admin work.
Right. So you can focus on the listings.
So you can focus on calling and visiting and doing stuff that produces money. So there are 2 things you're going to need. You're going to need a contact management system, and you're going to need a data provider. Those are 2 tools you must have. Now, the cool thing about the data provider is I'm talking about something like Vulcan or Espresso Agent, these kind of services that will give you the expireds, the contact info, and FISBOs if you sign up for it. Because that's what your competition is using. That's how they get the contact info, is through a subscription like that. So you're going to need that, and you're going to need a contact management system to house that and to organize your follow. And then doing what you're doing in a role play, get really good at communication. So when you do talk to the seller face-to-face, you don't lose an opportunity because you come across as either too aggressive or too needy or insecure or whatever, which I'm sure you don't, but that's what you want to master, is the communication. Must be.
Everyone is different,
Sure.
Every performance.
Yeah, but what you'll notice is that you will develop a certain, and it's not a script, but it's a routine.
Right.
Like I would use the same dialogue outline with every expired because it worked, so I don't have to change it. Now, it wasn't like I would have memorized lines, although there were certain parts of the expressions I would use over and over because they were effective. Like the pattern interrupts, like using a little bit of humor, asking certain questions. They don't change because once you have it developed and it works, why bother? And practice on people. I would go after expireds that I had no interest in listing. Like I knew these people I don't want. Just to practice, just to get really good at asking questions, making them feel comfortable. And very often they'll be like, well, wait a second, where are you going? What's our next step? So, because there was no pressure. I had no agenda, there was no neediness. So at the beginning, first few months, you're going to work your ass off, which I'm sure you're not afraid of. You don't mind that because you're building a nice future for yourself, a good business with lots of income potential. But be ready that it will require a lot of work at the beginning. There'll be some setbacks. It's going to require a lot of time, a lot more than an average agent puts in anyway. More education, but it shouldn't take you too long to start getting traction, getting business, getting commissions. Don't think that just because you're new in the area doesn't mean you cannot make money. Of course you can. It's going to come down to the mindset. You already have that. You believe you can do it. There's business out there. Clearly, people are moving. So you're going in an area that's a good place to be a good real estate agent. You have the basic skills already in place. You have some basic tools and systems already in place. They're just going to need some massaging and fine-tuning. Then it's just execution. Not perfection, but you're building it. It's a process.
Right.
Yeah. Don't waste too much time with buyers because that can be a trap that can really destroy. I've seen literally destroyed real estate careers because people try too hard to make a lot of money with buyers. That's impossible. That's just not possible. It's just not a fun way to do it. It's a lot of work and you have no guarantees. You're going to have buyers who will be shopping for months. Yeah. And then they're going to walk into an open house with somebody else and buy from them. And you're like, I'm going to shoot myself.
Exactly.
Happened to me so many times, dude. That's a lesson. It took me a while to learn that buyers is just not a good way to go.
Right.
So become a rock star listing agent. Work on your listing skills.